dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew? It's your boy DJ New Kid, your girl.
Sierra Nicole.
Back with more Mr. Ballen. Hey, shout out to y'all, man, for requesting this one. Hey, we typically do 2 videos a week with Mr. Ballen. So, hey, the days differ. As you might see. So, hey, if y'all ask us to do one, we'll do it. Just check the days that we normally upload Mr. Ballen. Just see we put it out. But this one's called "This Hospital Has a Disturbing Secret." I know I think it's his latest. You all right? This is his latest video. So, you already know what time it is, man. Make sure y'all check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go. If you want the first part, you got to do it. Check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's video,
locking it with a thumbs up.
Facts, no cap, no wax. Let's go. Let's check out the links in the... Let's go, bro. What the hell?
In 2015, a startling...
You already know what to do.
Oh
and
my
get the pen.
God.
And get the pen, baby. The pen too, baby.
You don't even need this right now.
Probably not, but you know what I'm saying? You never know. You never know.
In 2015, a startling discovery was made inside of this off-limits area inside of a prominent South African hospital. Now, at the time, no one really understood what this discovery meant, and so eventually people just kind of forgot about it and moved on. Until 2 years later, when another eerily similar discovery was made inside of another prominent South African hospital in one of their off-limits areas. I can't believe this story has not gotten more press because 1, it's recent, and 2, the implications of these discoveries are mind-boggling. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please put coyote urine in the like button's apple juice. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story. On October 4th, 2017, a 61-year-old father of 6 named Tatike Katsai arrived at a hospital in Stellenbosch, which is one of the richest towns in South Africa. Tatike, who lived in the area with his family, had been dealing with some stomach issues over the last several months, and so this day he was finally going in to have abdominal surgery to hopefully alleviate those issues. So, after entering the building, Tatike was checked in, and then before long he was transferred to the operating room where surgeons got to work on him. After the surgery was over, Tatike was transferred to a recovery room in the hospital where he was scheduled to stay for at least a couple of days so the doctors and nurses could watch over him while he recovered and make sure there was no complications from the procedure. And so, on the afternoon of October 4th, Tatike just kind of lounged around inside of his recovery room. He couldn't really do anything because of the incisions on his stomach, and so he mostly just laid in his bed, he watched TV, he relaxed, he ate, and then at some point, some of his family members came into the hospital and they visited with him as well. By the end of that day, the day of his surgery, Tatike was definitely sore from the incisions, but overall, he was in good spirits, and to the medical staff, it seemed very likely that his surgery was a success. Early the next morning, at around 5:15 a.m., one of the nurses in the hospital went to Tatike's room to check on him. And when she went inside, Tatike was awake, he was alert, he seemed totally normal. And so after a brief conversation, the nurse told Tatike that she was just going to get him some fresh linens to make up his bed. And so Tatike nodded a thank you to her, and then the nurse, she turned away from Tatike, who's in his bed. She stepped out of the one door in the room into the hallway. She grabbed fresh linens clothes off of a cart, and then she turned back around and went back into Tatike's room, except now Tatike was not in his bed. So the nurse immediately thought, okay, well then Tatike must have gone into his bathroom because the door was shut. He must be in the bathroom. And so just kind of reflexively, the nurse walked over to Tatike's now empty bed and replaced the linens. And then when she was done, she just looked at the bathroom door inside of his room, expecting Tatike to come outside any minute. But after a couple of minutes passed and Tatike had still not come out of the bathroom, the nurse decided to go over and just knock. And so she walked over, she knocked on the bathroom door and just kind of called out, hey, is everything okay in there? But there was no answer. And so the nurse eventually just tried the handle, and when she saw it was open, she called out that she was coming inside. She opened up the bathroom door, and it was empty. And so the nurse, she whipped her head around and looked back out at the room where Tatike should have been, and she saw, he's not on the bed, he's not under the bed, he's not anywhere in this room. Where could he have possibly gone? And she's thinking to herself, the only door out of this room is into the hallway, the same door that she had used to go out and get the linens. And if somehow Tatike had ran out of that door in the few seconds that her back was turned from Tatike, she certainly would have heard him or seen him. Because again, she was right outside the door and only outside of his room for a couple of seconds. Not to mention the fact Tatike has major incisions on his stomach and could barely stand, let alone walk or run. And so totally baffled, this nurse ultimately left the room and went and told her superiors. This hospital would immediately begin looking for Tatike on the grounds of the hospital, but they would do it kind of quietly. They wouldn't call Tatike's family to tell them that, hey, we can't find him, nor would they call police. And some have speculated that either one, the hospital did not think this was an emergency and they would quickly find Tatike and that everything would be fine, or two, the hospital was just so embarrassed at the idea that they lost a patient, they didn't want anyone to know, and so that's why they didn't tell anyone. Regardless, the hospital would search for Tatike all day on the 5th, the day he went missing, and they wouldn't find him. And then the next day, the 6th, the hospital again would spend the entire day quietly searching everywhere in the hospital, but they wouldn't find him again. And so finally on the next day, the 7th, so 48 hours after Tatike had just kind of vanished inside of his room, the hospital would reach out to Tatike's family and they would say to them, hey, is Tatike home with you guys? And the family was like, no, he's supposed to be with you. And so the hospital would say, well, he left 2 days ago, so we don't know where he is. And so Tatike's family is horrified, not only that they were totally left in the dark, but they would find out over the course of this conversation that the hospital had not even contacted the police yet. And so the family, they reached out to the police, and then later that day, the family would meet the police at the Stellenbosch hospital, and they...
Dang, my bad. I don't know what happened. Oh, sorry, y'all, but it's all right. But so far, what you
I have
thinking?
no clue. Because I'm trying to wrap my head around one, I feel like he would have been too weak to get up himself to leave out the room. And then two, she said, I would have heard him. I'm right there outside of the door or seen him. You know what I'm saying?
Or is it possibly there's a slip out through, or she could be lying? You gotta always factor in the possibility, because nurses sometimes they be involved in some scandalous stuff too. Remember you just watched what was that show you watched on? Was it Netflix?
Oh,
about the nurse that was killing all them people.
Yeah,
that guy. Yeah, so you can't necessarily rule out the nurse.
Yeah, true.
And you can't never rule out the hospital.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Foul stuff going on in the hospital. So
I just don't understand. I understand y'all felt embarrassed or whatever, but definitely contact the family and let them know what's going on, or contact authorities or whatever the case may be.
But also, it is in a different country,
yeah.
So they do operate totally different than we do here in America. So their rules and protocols are totally different. Even though we feel as though, hey, y'all. We don't know how, I never lived in South Africa, so we don't know how they operating system is when it comes down to things like this. So the protocols may be different. You never know.
And then later that day, the family would meet the police at the Stellenbosch hospital, and then a very public search of the property would ensue to look for Tatike. However, again, no one could find him. Authorities would continue to search both the hospital and also the neighboring area outside of the hospital over the next couple of days, but after they continued to find absolutely nothing, the search began to wind down. And so Tatike's devastated family was left with absolutely no idea what to think or what to do. Fast forward to October 20th, so 15 days after Tatike had gone missing. And on this day, the 20th, there was a construction crew at this hospital in Stellenbosch doing some renovations. And at some point on this day, one of the workers had to climb into the ceiling of one of the floors of this hospital. Now, the space above the ceiling is this tight, cramped space, almost like an attic. It's very big and wide. It's like the whole length of that floor. And really the only people that would ever go into the ceiling are construction workers or other authorized personnel that needed to do work. It's not a place that the public would ever go into. But when one of these workers went up into the ceiling, he had a headlamp on and he's kind of looking around. He's looking for what he needs to do up there. And at some point he turns his head and his light illuminates a person sitting in the corner far away from him, way up against the side in this tiny little attic space. And it would turn out it was Tatike, and he was deceased. The hospital had absolutely no clue how Tatike could have gotten up there. Not only is it obviously not a publicly accessible area, but the actual way to get up into the ceiling, the door that leads up into the ceiling, is very difficult to find. And even if Tatike found this entrance into the ceiling, it would have been nearly impossible for him to actually get into the ceiling. Because again, this guy has serious incisions on his stomach from the surgery he got. He could barely sit up. He couldn't really walk. So the idea of him climbing and pulling himself up into the ceiling just seems impossible. Then there was the very strange autopsy results. Now, the full report has not been made public, but Tatike's family had a consultation with the hospital after the autopsy was complete, and they would go to reporters and talk about what the hospital told them. And apparently, the hospital told the family that Tatike did not die from complications from his surgery, and they heavily insinuated that Tatike did not die from natural causes. Something happened to him, and the hospital had no idea what this something was, and that's what killed him. And the hospital also told the family that Tatike likely was dead before he went up into the ceiling. Meaning, someone or something killed Tatike, and then someone or something placed him in the ceiling. Again, this is just from the family going to reporters and talking about their discussion with the hospital.
Was anything missing? That's the only thing I could start thinking about. Because you know the other Nigerian thing we watched. Yeah. So I'm thinking possibly is it something like that? You know what I'm saying? Somebody using an operation out of the hospital. Somebody we could easily kill him off. He's already, you know what I'm saying, in here for something. Found some good organs we can use. You know what I'm getting at?
I know what you're getting at. But this right here is very like...
And the reason why his body was stashed in the ceiling, because y'all couldn't get his body up out of there. Yeah. Because it became a police investigation. Mm-hmm. Somebody held off on the police investigation. And then when they held off and they were looking for him themselves, somebody put him up there. But since it was too much police presence... And I was like, too much going on. They couldn't get the body out. So they just left him there. You get where I'm going?
Yeah, I get it.
And that's a high chance of possibility though, because what other reason or
that's what I'm trying to figure out. But
my whole thing is the body missing any organs or any vital parts of his body is missing? If so, bingo, we got a possible motive. You know what I'm saying?
The hospital's only official statement has basically been that they have cooperated with the family and they don't really know what happened to Tatike. Now, of course, this is a very strange story, but it gets even weirder. On May 10th, 2019, so about a year and a half after Tatike was found deceased in the Stellenbosch hospital ceiling, a 53-year-old father of 4 named Sandile Sabia arrived at another hospital in South Africa. It was in a city called Durban, which is considered to be one of the nicest and wealthiest places in South Africa, similar to Stellenbosch. Sandile was a builder, and he had been working on a house when he had fallen and broken his leg. Specifically, he broke his femur bone bone, the bone that runs from your hip down to your knee, the big single bone in your thigh. So just for reference, if you break your femur, you can't walk. So, with some assistance from friends and family, Sandil hobbled his way into this hospital in Durban, and he began to receive care. 2 days later, on May 17th, Sandil was still in the hospital, still recovering from this broken femur, when his cousin came to visit him. The cousin said Sandil seemed totally normal, and that during this visit, Sandil told the cousin that after the cousin left, Sandil was going to be transported from this hospital to another hospital nearby, where he was going to get an x-ray of his leg, as well as talk to another orthopedic surgeon. But apparently, after this cousin left from this visit, the doctors at the Durban hospital walked into Sandil's room to take him and transport him to this other hospital, and Sandil was not in his room. Now, this hospital in Durban was known for their very tight security, and so right away, their reaction was very different than the Stellenbosch hospital's reaction. This hospital immediately contacted authorities and said, "We are missing a patient," and they began a very public search of their hospital for Sandil. But they couldn't find him. On May 18th, so 6 days after Sandil disappeared, the hospital in Durban began to smell this horrible stench coming from one wing of their hospital. And so hospital workers would track the stench to a janitor's closet, and when they opened it up, they saw this black liquid dripping out of the ceiling, and the liquid was coming from Sandil's decomposing body that was located in the ceiling. Sandil's autopsy would be carried out very quickly. However, the results of that autopsy have never been made public, and Sandil's family has not commented on the results of this autopsy. As of today, all we know is that within a 2-year period, 2 seemingly ordinary South African men, who both could either not walk at all or who could barely walk because of their physical injuries, somehow snuck out of their hospital rooms totally undetected by staff, and then wound up dead in the hospital ceiling. Some say the men really did somehow sneak out of their own accord and decided to go into the ceiling, and that's what happened. Others say both men were murdered and then placed into the ceiling, and still others think these 2 cases are the best examples of something called spontaneous teleportation, which is the hypothetical phenomenon where a human suddenly disappears and then almost instantaneously reappears in another location. But for now, there is no official explanation, so those are all just theories. And so it's up to you to decide what you believe. So that's going to do it.
So, but why would they be dead? That's
Right.
that's the question. If it was the teleportation thing,
Right. And then I'm trying to figure out if someone is doing this, they can't be doing it alone.
or could they?
Or, I mean, they could, but I'm like, getting some, like, especially
Check your nurses.
like a man in the ceiling.
Reason why I say that is like, because my thing is also check your area. See if there has been other things that just hasn't made headlines or reports.
Yeah.
Reason why is because what I'm thinking is somebody's doing some foul shit. You know what I'm saying? They doing some illegal stuff, and y'all just can't catch them. And it's tight under wraps. The reason why, because it's in South Africa. It's not gonna get too far out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I'm looking at is there's an individual who probably have worked at both
Possibly.
hospitals. What I'm thinking is they got some kind of thing going where they're trying to take the patients, and I don't think they intended to kill the patients there, but they're hiding the bodies because immediately people are looking. I gotta hide you. I gotta stash you away, right? So I got a statue, or possibly they are killing them right there, but they never planned on not being able to get the body out of there. The first hospital that was with TTK, I feel like that one, they had a more opportunity to move the body into the position they wanted. They wanted him ducked off in the corner, but they wasn't able to come back for him. Or we might have a serial killer on hand, but I feel like they wasn't able to come back for the body. This one, with the Durban one, I feel like this situation, possibility, they stash them, but then think the police and everything was gonna be as fast and quick as it was.
Possibly.
And so they wasn't able to go back and get the body again.
Mm-hmm.
Because why keep bodies? Why stash bodies? The possibility of fingerprints, possibility of some type of evidence. If you're gonna do something like that, you destroy the body. You know what I'm saying? You just don't stash the body
where
in
it could
the,
be found.
where it can be found.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it's a possibility you got a serial killer on your hand, or a possibility it's still the same type of thing.
Yeah.
You just got some crazy stuff going on that.
I think this is the first one I have not been really able to make
wrap your
sense
head
of.
around.
Yeah, because I really don't know.
At the end of the day, it's some type of foul play
Something
going
is going on. Yeah.
I don't think these are the only two situations that happen, but I believe other situations has been kept under wraps.
Possibly, yeah.
I think other foul play has happened. People just not investigating it. Like, so say for instance something like that happened here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be televised.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily, because
a lot of stuff happens that's not televised. So I guess it just depends on like who picks it up or how like hard maybe the family is like going to get it out there or whatever the case. So it just depends.
But 9 times out of 10, whoever did the first one did the second one as well. And I think the two cases are linked together. There's some type of way linked. I believe it's just, you need to check. You need to check your nurses or even the people who just come in and move the bodies and stuff. Mm-hmm. What are those people called?
Like the transporters
mm-hmm. that in the hospital that just move the bodies from one room to another.
Yeah.
Check all faculty and staff. Check all faculty and staff. 9 times out of 10, one individual, one or several, you never know because it might be an operation ring. Somebody worked at the same time period as this body came on missing, mm-hmm. and the other body. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody's, because this is in the same country.
Yeah.
Those countries ain't big as America. You know what I'm saying? They more close. Mm-hmm. So those cities probably they can be like, all right, I'm moving over here. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go work at this hospital. You know?
Yeah.
Are you getting my gist?
Yes, I get what you're saying.
Are y'all getting where I'm
trying
coming
to make sense of like everything.
No, I'm just trying to see if they get where I'm coming from, because that's where I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. Like, especially after I didn't watch this series, but I have heard about it.
Oh, that was a little different than this right here.
And then don't forget all of it's kind of the same. You got a nurse doing some foul. Don't forget, we done seen where nurses have kidnapped babies out of hospital. Mm-hmm. Like the faculty and stuff.
Like people be doing some foul things.
Or janitor.
Anybody.
Somebody like, that no you ain't
off limits. Like
somebody you ain't peeping.
Anyone that's in a hospital is able to, if you can like be able to touch me.
You will work. It's somebody that's working inside the hospital that's doing something.
Yeah.
I don't think just no random individuals coming into the hospital.
Especially the second one. How he said that the security is so like on
the only person that will really be able to peep and study security is an employee. Mm-hmm. Like to know exactly how to move and navigate inside of a tight security place. The employees watch. Right. They watch. They pay attention to how security move. And 2 years in between, they give me time to be able to monitor.
Yeah.
I might only work there for a year, but me knowing how I am and my mindset, if I wanted to do something foul, I'm gonna watch the security, see how response time with stuff, certain things, see how we do drills, see.
And like he said that the second one was found in a janitor's closet in the hospital. Do they normally keep like those doors and stuff like locked? Or is they just like open? Depends. Like I'm just wondering because I don't know. Every hospital is different, every
just
location.
Depends.
But yeah, these two situations are strange.
Yeah.
Like,
or do they have a key pass to like
that's what I'm
buzz
saying.
in?
Yeah, I don't know, but this is strange. Yeah, most definitely.
Mm-hmm. I got my suspicions.
I know you do.
But even if I go further into it, some people just ain't gonna agree. And they're going to try to find some way to debunk what your thoughts is without explaining their thoughts. So, but with that being said, man, spam us up in the comments. Let us know y'all thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. But as always, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ and Kid. This is
we are.
We are, y'all.
Go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partner.